Werner, the official ladder of the NCAA basketball championships and the official ladder of professional contractors everywhere. Werner, #1 in ladders.
This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNRadio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Golic, we start with this.
3.1 seconds to go. The Cavs need a 3 to tie. It's Spurs 110. Cavs 107. Irving goes into motion, takes the pass. He'll launch a 3. Hey! Knocks it down! Kyrie Irving from the right point has tied this game at the buzzer, and we are going to overtime, locked up at 110.
How about Kyrie Irving last night, who was just getting warmed up? He hits the 3 to put them within 3 last night at San Antonio. Kawhi Leonard misses 2 foul shots. Irving makes that miracle shot at the buzzer to go to overtime. And again, he was just getting warmed up. Kyrie Irving was out of his mind last night. If you look at the numbers on Kyrie Irving last night, it was one of the genuinely great performances, not just of this NBA season, but that we've seen in a very long time in the NBA. In the final minute of regulation and all of overtime last night, Kyrie Irving was 6 of 8 from the floor, including 4 of 4 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line, and single-handedly outscored the San Antonio Spurs by 3 points as Cleveland went to San Antonio for a win.
I mean, a great win, obviously, for them, but what a performance. You know, you always think of LeBron against San Antonio and the times they've matched up from the first time he was with Cleveland, obviously, in the finals, to the times in Miami. But Kyrie Irving, listen, this is what they were hoping, these two guys together, because LeBron did have 31, which Kyrie Irving said, so what? You know, I'll take care of that. The other of the big three, Kevin Love, not so good of a day that we'll get into a little bit, just 2 of 10 shooting. But, I mean, Kyrie Irving, when you can do this, here's the list of players that have scored 50 points against the Greg Popovich team. Ready for the list?
Yes, let me hear it.
Kyrie Irving.
And?
That's it.
That's it.
He's the first player to do that. I mean, really incredible. Third player in NBA history, multiple 50-point games prior to turning 23, joins LeBron James as teammate, and then you go back to Rick Barry as the other. So he is, listen, this is when they put these two together, and then obviously with Kevin Love as well, is why we said they could be, you know, shooting for some championships once they got the chemistry down. And this is what Kyrie Irving can do. And he's done it again, obviously, another 50-pointer again this season. And we know the type of player he is. But just seeing him hit the shot 7 of 7 from three-point land, when you can pull that off, you're obviously in the zone.
And you know how much I love some of these little kinds of statistics. It was the most points scored by a player against the defending NBA champion since Wilt Chamberlain in January of 1962 when he was playing for the Philadelphia Warriors, when the Warriors played in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That's how long ago it was. And it's worth pointing out once again that Kyrie Irving is 22 years old.
22 years old.
He'll be 23 this month, but he's 22 years old. Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis are both 22 years old.
It's incredible,
the
isn't
NBA
it?
is ridiculous with these young players.
In good hands, yeah.
You know, you feel like Irving has been around for a while because he has, because he only played 1 year in college. So these guys are so young when they come into the league, and Irving is phenomenal, and Cleveland is playing great. They are running roughshod over the league, and again, it was Irving last night with the huge shot, the huge moments, and ultimately the huge win. Here he was with Rachel Nichols on the court.
All the credit goes to my teammates doing a great job of screening me, getting me open, and our offensive execution down the stretch was huge. Got stops when we needed it. And we were all tired going into that overtime, but there's no excuses. You know, everybody's gearing up for playoff basketball. It's a great team down there. It's a great test for us, and I'm glad we came out with a win.
Let me tell you, that game had a playoff feel, an NBA Finals feel. The Spurs are playing really well right now. I think you cannot make a list of teams that you could easily see winning the West without including San Antonio on it. And right now, I think as good as Atlanta is and as well as they have played, I think Cleveland clearly looks like the team to beat in the East. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. You could save hundreds on your car, business, or recreational vehicle insurance from a local independent agent. Go to Progressive.com today. Now that's Progressive. Now what is going to get buried by the incredible performance of Irving is the fact that Kevin Love did not play in the fourth quarter last night.
Yeah.
You mentioned he shot 2 of 10, and then he's not on the floor for that whole night. And after the game, you know, there's all this locker room video of LeBron in there celebrating with his teammates. A great team effort. We were all great. Everyone was awesome tonight. Well, everyone wasn't. And it makes me continue to wonder. I don't want to rain on the parade because today is not about this. Today is about the Cavs and their win. And look, they could win the championship. But I do think it is worth spinning forward. If you're Kevin Love, there's a little snapshot of what your life is going to be like for the next 5 years if you decide to spend them in Cleveland with these two guys. Because, again, Kyrie Irving is not even 23 years old.
Yeah, I mean, you go from being the absolute man in Minnesota to being part of a threesome in Cleveland. And, listen, we went through this before with him about not playing at times in the fourth quarter, but then we've seen him blossom as well and play well and fit right in with those three. But when you're normally the man, then you go to this group, and then you're not even on the floor in crunch time. That's got to be devastating. Forget the physical part, the mental part of where you belong there. I agree with you. That's got to be tough. And also something else, just spinning it forward a little more in anticipation of the playoffs, about a dozen or 14, 15 games left in the regular season. A first-round matchup right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers could be playing the best team in the NBA after the All-Star break.
Indiana.
The Indiana Pacers have the best record since the All-Star break at 9-1. Now the Cavs are 9-3, but the Pacers are playing well, and they're sitting in that 7 slot right now, 1 game ahead of Miami at 8, and a few behind Milwaukee at 6. So if they were to stay right there, Cleveland's not getting any higher than 2. They're going to stay at 2. They're not going to catch Atlanta. Well, I still think Cleveland's a better team, but a lot of people starting to rumble a little bit more about the Pacers and the way they're playing since the All-Star break.
Yeah, and whether or not Paul George is going to come back and be playing for them as well. That would be an interesting match. I'd like to see Indiana Indiana's going to give somebody a tough series, and I think there are teams they could beat. I don't think that's one.
Oh, I don't either, but it just becomes a little more intriguing because, it's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Right.
And if you're playing as one of the better teams, if you get a Paul George back, I'm sure there'll be let me put it this way. There's more excitement with the Pacer fans now than there's been for any time this year.
Yeah, and there's hope for the future. I don't think that future will be this spring. And look, we all know the history LeBron has with Indiana. They played great series interesting series each of the last 3 years. I'm just looking for interesting
first-round matchups. Quite honestly, and that could be one of them.
Yeah, those are going to be hard to find. And in the West, every one of them is going to be
fantastic.
So good night right there in the NBA. As I mentioned, I had yesterday, I think, my crowning individual athletic achievement.
Which, by the way, is cool that you can have that, and then at the same time, a little sad.
Well, you realize it's not, it doesn't have a lot of competition. I have very few great athletic moments in my personal history. I have a small handful of them. I've had a few triumphs, very, very small. I mean, here's the thing. When you work at ESPN, as I have now for 18 years, and when you work in and around professional athletes, as I have now for 25 years, you have a skewed perception of what a good athlete is.
True.
I hang around routinely with people like yourself who are world-class athletes. By comparison to you, obviously my athletic achievements are extraordinarily few and far between. Yesterday, however, was, I think, my greatest moment.
It was impressive.
And in this hour on ESPN2, you're going to see it. I'm not going to tell you anymore.
No.
I gave a little hint yesterday on Twitter. But in this hour, you got to be watching on ESPN2. At the end, towards the end of this hour, you will see my greatest athletic moment.
All I can say is, I was impressed.
It was stunning.
Stunning is probably the correct word.
Meanwhile, maybe the last really significant shoe we'd been waiting to drop in the NFL finally fell yesterday. And does it mean that all of a sudden one much maligned former genius has his status back again? Let's start with DeMarco Murray, Mike. That was really the last huge free agent that we were waiting to see go. I shouldn't say that because Pot Roast is even bigger, at least literally. And he got a deal, 1 year deal in Washington
for $4 million, yeah.
Which I was a little
surprised at that as well.
We could talk about that, but we'll start with DeMarco Murray, who goes from the Cowboys to the Eagles. And I have to admit that as all that buildup was going on to it yesterday, I kept thinking there's going to be a reversal here, and it will not ultimately happen, but of course it does. DeMarco Murray is now in Philadelphia, and if you look at it, Chip Kelly wound up turning LaShawn McCoy into Kiko Alonso and DeMarco Murray. There are people who will tell you DeMarco Murray's style of running suits better what Chip Kelly wants his offense to be. You put together the combination now of Murray and Ryan Matthews, who does wind up signing there. There had been an agreement. Well, they're going to back out on it. No, they didn't. So they got both those guys in there. All of a sudden, a coach who was being severely and significantly questioned everywhere 2 days ago, looks a whole lot smarter.
Well, I mean, that's what, if you thought he was not in the first place. I wasn't going that far with some of the others. My thought was, let's let it all play out with some of the moves.
And your lack of willingness to overreact to that really frustrated me.
I know. I'm sorry.
Thank God I had Stink in here Wednesday who was yelling and screaming with me.
There's two of us. We only need one overreactor in the relationship, okay? Here's the deal. Well, imagine this. What if Frank Gore took the deal in Philadelphia?
Oh, yeah?
The whole thing would have... Now, you heard Chip Kelly say he was going after 3 running backs, and he wanted to get 2. And he mentioned the 3 that ultimately they talked to. So, who knows what the story is. But he said Gore, Ryan Matthews, and DeMarco Murray. So they end up getting 2 for what everybody talks about in his offense, where he's concerned about the quarterback and the offensive line. He certainly spent some money on the running back position. Remember, Ryan Matthews got the $11 million deal, 5 of it guaranteed. And DeMarco Murray from where this thing went, got actually a better deal than I thought he was going to get. $42 million deal, but the big number there is $21 million of it is guaranteed. I think many thought he could have got a better deal. He even said he had more money out there. Again, do you believe that? Who knows? I have no idea about that at all, but he said he was concerned about winning, and we'll get into it. It turns out the Cowboy offer, if we believe this report, was nowhere near that at all. So look at that backfield now. And it does fit that offense, an offense of a spread out the offense. You want quicker guys, that is, or DeMarco Murray can, the ability of him after contact of what he can do, going downhill, avoiding tacklers, and making plays down the field. Matthews, that's his game. Darren Sproles, that's his game. So it's an offense. Get the ball in these guys' hands, whether you're handing the ball off to them, whether you're swinging the ball to them, and you have playmakers.
It's all going to come down, obviously, to the guy pulling the trigger, and that is Sam Bradford now, who was DeMarco Murray's teammate and roommate and very close friend at Oklahoma. And I heard Bill Polian say this on SportsCenter yesterday, and I think it stands to reason. He was asked, what do you think of the Eagles' offseason overall? And he said, it will be determined by the ability to stay healthy of the quarterback. If Sam Bradford plays 16 games, they had a sensational offseason. If Sam Bradford's knee goes out on him again, then it was less than sensational. And I think that's a big risk. In my personal opinion, I remain surprised by that move. I think the running back's move is sensational. The trading away or not trading away, but the allowing to leave of Jeremy Maclin, I don't know. But the quarterback move is the one that I still find a little curious just because of the enormous risk of injury. But I would say if Bradford is healthy for 16 games and you look at the help they've gotten themselves on defense, I think right now the Eagles look like the team to beat in the NFC East, inclusive of the Dallas Cowboys. Agree or disagree?
Well, I mean, who are they throwing the ball to?
Well, see, I think he's going to tell you it doesn't matter.
No,
the ball
he can tell me all he wants. But as we look at a team and break it down, I certainly I understand his philosophy, and I've already said I don't know if I buy into that philosophy of that. And if Sam Bradford, has Sam Bradford ripped it up? I mean, has he?
Now, he was on lousy teams. I mean, in St. Louis, when he was healthy, they were bad. That whatever talent they've accumulated in recent years, and a lot of it coming through the RG3 trade, he really didn't get to reap the benefit of that, because he's basically missed the last 2 years.
When he got hurt in 2013, he played 7 games. He was completing 60%, had 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions at the time he got hurt. I've liked Sam Bradford, but you never really got to see what he was, so now you will. But you don't really know who they're throwing the ball to, or they're getting rid of people. The Maclin one still surprises me as well.
They have Jordan Matthews. They have
Riley Cooper, and they have some couple tight ends.
It's funny because in that same interview I'm talking about, Bill Polian was asked, do they need to go out and get a receiver? And he said they need to go out and get depth at receiver. He thinks that they're fine with their starting receivers with those 2 guys we just named, Matthews and Cooper, and they just need depth. That was Bill's opinion.
And depth, and why? Because they run a play every 22 seconds, so you want to be able to roll.
And you just need a third guy. My point is, he was talking like they don't need to go out and get a starting receiver. That's his opinion.
Right? No. And listen, how can you not love a Bill Polian decision and the teams he's built? I'm in the wait and see. I'm not going to be overly critical of it because it's his style. He's won 10 games the last 2 years. He hasn't had losing records, won a division his first year, didn't make the playoffs last year, but still had the 10 wins. So I am certainly willing to roll that dice and see where he's going to go with it with his first 2 years of 10 wins. But I'm just saying I don't know if I'm as behind that philosophy of, I don't know what now again, you just can't go pluck a franchise quarterback wherever you want it.
Right.
So, but Sam Bradford, I do think fits that offense better than Nick Foles did, so I get that move. And if his philosophy works, then you're going to see guys who aren't superstars, making plays and then making big plays. That's what this offense is about: controlling the ball, getting plays off quickly, and making big plays.
All right, let's go to the sound. Here's DeMarco Murray.
It was more than football to me, and just him being a great person really touched my heart, and I wanted to play with that guy, and I wanted to go to war with him, so I was excited about the opportunity and the challenge to play here.
He's talking about Chip Kelly, going and playing for Chip Kelly and playing in this offense.
I think if you're how I talk about a defensive player, you loved playing, when my time for a Buddy Ryan, you loved playing for that aggressive defensive player like guys with Rob Ryan or certainly with Rex Ryan now. Defensive guys love playing that. Offensive guys see this and say, this is wide open. I'm going to get touches. I'm going to get my chances. You're going to roll in and roll out. There's 3 guys in that backfield right now, but you're going to get your chances to make some plays.
There's more DeMarco Murray.
I'm sure the emotion will be high when we do decide to play them. Like I said, I got a lot of respect for the Jones, for the players there, and Coach Garrett. He's an unbelievable guy. I wish that team all the best of luck, and it's definitely going to be exciting to play them, and I'm excited to just get here and be an Eagle.
He tweeted, nice stuff about the Cowboys, and they all had nice things to say about him, including Jerry Jones. I'm thrilled, personally, and I've never met DeMarco Murray in my life, but I'm thrilled he got his money, because if anybody earned it last year, that guy earned it. You can't ask a football player to do more than he did last year. They ran him into the ground. He played hurt, played with a broken hand, and for cap reasons, whatever you want to say, they weren't going to give him his money. And I was really worried he wasn't going to get his money, and I would have hated to see that for a guy. So I'm thrilled he got paid.
And I think you're overboard a bit. They had to pay someone, and we all said you paid Des Bryant before you paid DeMarco Murray. And as Jerry Jones said, if there's no cap, then he's going to be a Dallas Cowboy. But he says we have to worry about money. So his deal in Philly is $42 million. The offer from the Cowboys was $24 million. The deal in Philly gives him $21 million guaranteed, and the guaranteed money for Dallas was $12 million. So there was a significant difference, and for cap reasons. And so he chose Philadelphia. This running him into the ground, Greeny, my God, it was 1 year. 1 year. He's been in the league, he's made $2.9 million in his career. He hasn't been the workhorse like he was there 1 year. You act like this guy has been, ridden unbelievably bad for his entire career and is now limping into the stable.
I think last year, the third most touches in NFL history.
Last year he had 449 touches. The year before that, the most he had in his career was 217. So he had 1 year of it. You know what? He's okay.
I get it.
He's going to survive okay. And you know what? If he got this big deal from Dallas, he'd probably be back in Dallas.
Right.
Because he got his money.
But they weren't going to give him his money.
But my point is, it wouldn't have been, you know what? I'm not going back to Dallas because I'm running the ball too much. That wasn't going to be in his thought process.
No.
So everybody bringing this up that they ran him into the ground, forget it. If he got equal money or more money in Dallas, that's where he would be. That's where he would be. He wouldn't be saying, they run me too much, I'm going to go somewhere else.
But you're missing, it has nothing to do with it. You're missing my point. My point is that by running him into the ground, Bill Polian sat here on our set and said that will frighten teams away from signing him because no one has ever
$21
touched the ball.
million guaranteed.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm relieved that he did.
Yeah.
I was worried he wasn't going to because no running back ever has had that many carries in a season, that many touches, and the next year not falling off.
Did it really frighten teams off?
No, in the end it seems not to have, or at least one of them.
And DeMarco Murray, now, whether you want to believe him or not, said he had higher offers from other teams. And when you're thinking of the teams that had money, you're thinking of teams like Jacksonville and
Oakland.
But he was talking about teams that had a chance for the playoffs. So, I'm sorry, that seemed to be disproved that he wasn't going to get offered his money.
Which is why I'm saying I'm glad for him. I'm thrilled that he did. I was worried he wasn't going to.
But my point is y'all made way too much of this running him into the ground garbage for 1 year. That's just my opinion.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
We have a question live right now at mikeandmikevote.com. Which was the most impactful NFL offseason move so far? And your choices are the quarterback trade between the Eagles and Rams, Bradford and Foles, Jimmy Graham going to Seattle, the trade of DeMarco Murray going to the Eagles, Darrelle Revis going to the Jets, and Ndamukong Suh going to the Dolphins. What's your opinion? You can vote at mikeandmikevote.com. We bring Herm Edwards into the conversation, and we'll talk about all these moves and more with our buddy Herm. How are you, Herman?
I'm well. That Kyrie Irving shot didn't top yours.
Didn't top my shot.
You're the half quarter.
If you didn't see
it was incredible. I mean, he's a professional athlete. He's supposed to make those. Those are what the great players do. But you're like a tennis player, a little bit of a golfer.
Yeah.
A first shot of that throwing, whatever you called it. I don't know what you call it.
Because nobody does it that way. Nobody throws it like a baseball. It was probably the
ugliest throw I've ever seen.
It was horrific.
And it went right in.
And it went in.
You know, I mean, do we draw a picture of it, or do we just put it on the score sheet?
No, you put it on a scorecard.
And listen, I
like it.
I can't say a word because if the quarterback falls down and I touch him, it's a sack, and I don't care how it happens.
Nothing but net. See,
I'm with you.
I mean, that's impressive.
It was.
On my first effort.
I like it.
We'll get more into that as for those of you just joining us and you didn't see what I did. My dance, by the way, is the best part.
Your dance is horrific.
Yeah. Those of you watching on ESPN too. That was a brief nay-nay. And then this one I just sort of go into my own little modified Travolta, and then I just dropped the ball, dropped the mic, just slammed the ball down.
This is the beauty of Greeny because he already said we'll get more into it. Had he missed all 10, we wouldn't even have shown that. I could have made my first shot. You missed all 10. We never would have heard about the contest. Now we'll get into that later and break it down.
Yeah, we will. We'll have Herman break down my
We're going to get Brucey Bowen in here and legs. And
I got more legs than Brucey. Legs is more of a long-distance shooter. Okay, Herman, let's ask you first and foremost to vote on our mikeandmikevote.com. Of all these big moves that have been made during this offseason, which do you think was the most impactful? It's taking you too long to say Darrelle Revis. I think it's taking you too long. You know the name.
They got a whole new secondary. I mean, it wasn't just Revis. Mm-hmm. It was everyone else. It was Cromartie
and
Screen, and then Gilchrist, the kid from the San Diego. And you're talking about a team.
Can I give you a quick stat on that, by the way? I asked Zach to look this up for me. And you know Todd Bowles, obviously, and the defense that he ran in Arizona. They ran 569 defensive snaps in dime defense last year, which means 2 additional defensive backs on the field. That was the most in the NFL by 122 plays. It was 60 more snaps in dime than any other team in the league the last 5 seasons. He wants to play with 6 defensive backs on the field, and he has 6 at least legitimate guys to put out there on the field right now.
Well, yeah, and it's upgraded the secondary. These guys gave up 31 touchdown passes last year, and they're about 45% on third down. So when you have Revis and Cromartie and obviously Screen, those guys can play man coverage. Gilchrist can play some safety. So they've upgraded that. So you look at this team now, I mean, up front, they had a pretty good front seven. There's no doubt about that. And now they've really upgraded the back end of their secondary. That whole division, I think, has done a nice job of really plucking veteran players that come in right now and give them stability.
Well, they have.
About Buffalo. Yeah. Buffalo gets the runner. They get Catholic quarterback. That solidifies that offense. And Rex is a defensive guy. Yeah. And that is one of the better defenses.
Agreed. And then Miami got Suh. They just got Cameron, the tight end from the Browns. They got him too because it looked like he was going to sign back with Cleveland. Now he goes to Miami. There's part of me, guys, that think when we're talking about one player being the most impactful, I might lean to Jimmy Graham.
Oh, yeah.
And just for this reason, because he goes to an offense where basically the tight end is in a witness protection program. The tight end is never used. Now, they did bring in Zach Miller, and he got hurt. Maybe they would have used the tight end more had he not gotten hurt. But the tight ends are non-existent in their offense, and now you have one of the best matchups in your favor at tight end.
Along with Marshawn Lynch coming back.
Right, exactly.
Because that's the cornerstone of this offense. And now you have the ability, when you decide to stack the box, you spread Jimmy Graham out, you got issues.
What says wide open more than play action to Marshawn to a tight end?
You got issues. I mean, and you're talking about in the red zone?
Yeah.
I mean, and we visited with Jimmy Graham. He was down. Did he come on you guys' set down in at Super Bowl?
No, we had him at the NBA All-Star game in New Orleans last year.
Right. Well, we had him there. He was down at the Super Bowl, and he came on Sports, and I had a nice visit. He was hurt all year, guys. I mean, he was hurt. He couldn't lift his arm. He was hurt, and he was excited about coming back this year. He really was. He was getting in shape. He was excited about this season. Now he goes to, obviously, a Super Bowl contender in Seattle, so that's going to work out good for them.
All right, so ESPN.com graded the free agency and trade moves thus far. We're talking about most impactful. I'm just going to tell you the grade they gave it, and I'll just ask you both to say, do you agree or disagree? Would you go higher, lower, whatever the case may be? And Dominican Sue to the Dolphins, they rated an A.
Yes.
Dominant player.
Dominant. And again,
regardless of the money.
Don't get caught up.
The money's the money, Greeny. Here's the problem. We live in a world. I'm happy for the players. I'm happy for all the players. I'm happy for our league because what it's done now, this has become another event, free agency. And the great thing about free agency for you as a coach in an organization, you get to watch professional football players now go from one team to another, and you have film. You have how they've played in the league. It's not like drafting a rookie. You have no idea how he's going to turn out. Now you've seen this guy 3 or 4 years, and you go, what? We're going to pay this guy this money. That's just the market value. That's the way the market says it. You can't do anything about that. You're always going to overpay the player.
Right.
That's part of the deal. So get past the money. Now, they have to spend the money anyway. How do you want to spend it? And it's good for the players. It's good for the league. It's good for fans. I mean, all of a sudden, when the season's over with, fans are depressed. Oh, they're worried about the draft. Then free agency comes. You get a couple veteran guys, really good players. You go, wow, we just added some stars. You're excited now. The draft hasn't even taken place yet.
Right.
So this is a good thing for our league.
Look at all of the players, and you just pointed out in the AFC East just quickly. Look what Buffalo's done. Look what the Jets have done. And now, for those who didn't see it yesterday, the Dolphins also signed Jordan Cameron. I'm saying the tight end out of Miami. So, I mean, that entire division has made an enormous run.
Well, that entire division, except the Super Bowl champs.
Right.
They have lost. Well, they re-signed McCourty.
Here's the problem.
They re-signed McCourty. They did lose their two corners, but they're like,
and Shane Vereen.
They're like the San Antonio Spurs. They just find a way, don't they?
Yeah, because you know why? One thing stays the same.
Yeah.
That guy that plays quarterback, he's really pretty good, guys. And it's kind of funny because this division looked at within themselves and said, look, how are we going to beat them? We don't have the quarterback that can beat them. Let's go build our defenses up and make it very difficult. Let's compete that way and see what happens.
DeMarco Murray to the Eagles graded an A.
Here's where I'm going to wait on that because his production last year was fantastic. There are now 3 running backs. Now, I know Darren Sproles is more of that third down guy, but you have Ryan Matthews, who you guaranteed 5 and paid 11, and you have DeMarco Murray. If he doesn't have 3/4 of the carry, then did you overpay? I know you say don't worry about overpaying, but now really you paid him a lot of money, and if you're not using him, maybe at least 3/4. What would you say is the value of how many touches he should have compared to the other guys for that money?
Well, break it out this way, Mike, and you make a good point. The Eagles had 1,127 plays. They ran 474 running plays. So Murray last year touched the ball 400, I got it right here, 449 times.
Right.
With catches. Oh, he ran at 392. Now, here's the deal. When you look at how many times they run, they're going to run about 500 times.
Right.
They can, the Eagles. Because they get off a lot of plays. You got to give it Murray about 225 carries. I'd give Sproles about 100 touches. I'd give Matthews about 150. And what you're going to do all of a sudden with Murray, you know he's going to have a drop-off from last year anyway. That's just certain. I mean, when the guys rush for that many yards and they carry it that many times, there's always a drop-off. Now you've limited his carries.
Right.
So maybe now all of a sudden you lengthen his career. You lengthen his career by the fact that, hey, he's going to play maybe 4 or 5 more years, carrying it about 225 times. You got to hope Matthews can stay healthy. Both these guys have been hurt in their careers.
Yes, they have.
Sproles is a guy I think is going to be excellent on a nickel, third down special situation. So now, this offense would like to run the football. He wants to run it. Well, now he's got some runners. And you're talking some runners that can run downhill, too.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Reaction to our little half-court shot fun that we had yesterday. Scott Ferguson tweets at us, Golic, you're not a total loser, but clearly Greeny is 9 times better than you.
Wow.
Dan tweets, congrats to Greeny. Golic, I'm very disappointed in how many shots it took you. Despicable.
Despicable. I made it. I was given 10 shots, and I made it within the 10 shots.
And he misspelled despicable, so
okay.
That's a whole other thing. Richard, that was awesome. Can't believe both of y'all made it, especially the manner in which you did. I swear that we did not doctor any of that. I did make the first shot. Golic did make the 10th.
It was not all positive, though. Kirk says that, and remember, it was $20 if you made it, 2 minutes in timeout if you didn't.
Right.
Kirk says, Greeny, that was not a basketball shot. That was a baseball throw using a basketball. Therefore, Greeny, go to the corner for not making a basketball shot.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
In a game of basketball, would that have counted as 3 points?
Absolutely would have counted.
I rest my case.
Yes, I'm on your side, but I just wanted to, knock you down a peg.
And then John brings up the point, Herman, let's have you judge this. As great as making the first shot was, the big story and by far the best thing about the piece was the celebration dance. What did you think of my dance, Herman?
You were a little bit off rhythm, but that doesn't surprise me.
Well, no, not at all.
There was no music.
Well, yeah. That's where you got to have a little bit of soul in you,
which shows us even more how bad you are that there was no music, so you created your own rhythm and blew it.
I danced offbeat to the sound of no music.
To the sound of music in your head, you were offbeat.
Some people beat to the sound of their own drum. I just beat to nothing. But one way or another, I thought it was good. James, I enjoyed the dance more than the shot. And then Andy, does the fact that you made your first shot change your mind about doing the $20 million or jail bet? Absolutely not. There was no pressure on me yesterday whatsoever.
None. No pressure.
I would not risk 2 years in jail for anything. If you put $1 billion, I told you, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
I'd do it for $1 billion.
And I'd cheer for you.
Mike and Mike.
Herman Edwards is here. ESPN.com giving grades to each of the big moves that have been made during this offseason. And looking at the Bradford-Foles trade, they give the Eagles a C+, and the Rams a C-. Now, bear in mind that not only did the Eagles, they flip-flop Bradford and Foles, but the Eagles actually sent a second-round draft pick to the Rams in this trade, and they grade out the Eagles higher. Golic, agree or disagree?
Well, I think, and one of the reasons they did this is they actually went to the people in front of the quarterback. They went to the offensive line. That now Sam Bradford is going to a better offensive line. Again, the Eagles graded out last year as a complete line, the best running line in the league, which can certainly help set up and help you in the passing situation. And the Rams, they just cut their center, and they cut Jake Long, and they cut Scott Wells. You got guys like Greg Robinson and Roger Saffold, the guys that are going to start on that line. They're in transition in some of the other line positions. For a guy who is a pocket passer in Nick Foles, who looked very good when he first got a chance, and then that certainly fell off a bit before he got hurt. So this grade more, and I would probably put them both in the C's just because I don't think we're really sure what we're going to get from the quarterback. But I think one thing you can say for sure is the line in front of the quarterback, you give the edge to the Eagles there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I think when you look at what the Eagles are trying to do, obviously Chip is bringing in his guys who he feels that he can play with. When you look at what they did on defense, they went and got 2 corners. They got Maxwell and Thurman. They got Kiko Alonso, a young linebacker. I don't think he's done, to be quite honest. I think he believes in his philosophy is his offense, how he wants to run his system. And I think he looks at the draft saying, you know what, there's going to be some wide receivers in the draft I can probably draft. He's probably going to go out and get some more defensive help. But I like what he's doing in the sense that it's his football team, and he's going to build it to his image. Now, I understand the Sam Bradford deal. I would take it one step further, to be quite honest. And if Mariota is your guy, and you truly believe in your heart of hearts that he is your Andrew Luck, he's your guy. I mean, he's the guy that can run your offense because you have a unique offense. You have this system that you want to play, and you've shown it works, but it works better with that quarterback. And most offenses work with the great quarterback. And if this is the guy, and we watched him up in Oregon work out, everybody says mechanical. He's supposed to be mechanical. He's trying to play offense scripted the way we like quarterbacks to play in our league, okay? Mm-hmm. So he's going to be mechanical. That's part of the deal, guys. So you can knock him if you want. That's not his fault. He played in the offense that basically opens up windows, and he was excellent at it. And if you're Chip Kelly and you're sitting there, go get him. Go get him. Don't worry about the future. The future's right now, in my opinion. And you can about building the future. I'm going to tell you what happens when you build for the future. I did it. Drafted a bunch of rookies and played them. I'm sitting here now. Sitting here. Because I didn't have that guy. If that's your guy and if he's your Andrew Luck, in other words, if he's your quarterback for the next 10 years that can run your offense, if he comes into Chip Kelly into Philadelphia, you don't have to worry about him dropping back. He's going to run the offense. So now all of a sudden, guess what? He's pretty good. He's really good in this offense.
Well,
so put him in the offense and go get him. If you got to give up your number 1 this year, Mike, give up your number 2, give up your number 1 next year, and guess what? Give him cheesesteaks for a whole year. Whatever you got to do, if you want this guy, go get him.
Here's where I agree with you. And I know you're not saying you feel that way and I don't feel that way, but if you're the coach and you are making the decisions and you think that is your guy for the next decade, then I completely agree with you. Now what I'll say on the other side of that is because what everybody says is, get Mariota, he's in your system, boom, now all of a sudden he's a good quarterback. Well, is he? Because even if you run his system, Coach, he's still, defenses in the NFL are different. The windows he's throwing into are tighter. The reads he has to make are more than, even in that offense, he ran it well. He threw to his first receiver an awful lot. That's not going to happen. The coverage is going to be a lot better in the NFL, so he's got to have tighter throws, and his anticipation has to be better. So while the familiarity is there with the system, what he's going to have to actually, in practical application, do on the field is going to be so much tougher.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm saying he ran this system with Nick Foles. Now, and Mark Sanchez, and now he's going to put Sam Bradford in the system. You got a guy that knows the system as good as you. As good as you. I mean, you don't have to. He can walk in right now. He can get understanding. Let's go play, boys. We're ready to go. You ain't got to wait for 3 years to. Can he drop back? Does he know the 5-step drop, 3-step drop? This offense opens up windows. Okay, he gets that part. Plus, guess what? He's a much better athlete than the guys we're just talking about. He can run.
Mm-hmm.
You got an issue with this guy. If he comes into a system already built that he played in college, and it's already been proven that Chip's run it for the last 2 years in pro football, and you see teams right now gasping when they play against this guy, and you put this guy in the system, Coach, go get him. Go get him, Coach. If he's your guy, and I'm a Philly guy, go get him.
Let me ask you a question, Armin. It sounds to me like what you're saying is he has greater value to the Eagles than he might to a lot of other teams.
And then it's like going to the prom.
How is it like going to the prom?
It's going to the prom.
Great pause.
Everyone looks at their girl. They got different dresses on. They all look beautiful to you. Your girl is the one you're bringing to the prom. You choose somebody else to put them in a dress. They look good. You say, oh, that's my girl. I'm bringing her. You might not like her, but I like her.
Yeah.
And she's got a nice dress on, a corsage.
Greeny, you wouldn't understand this conversation.
Kind of He probably didn't go to prom. Okay, so here we go. Here's the deal. So at the end of the day, he's your guy. He's your quarterback. He don't have to play for 31 other teams. He's playing for your team. That's all that matters, guys.
Right? I went to the prom, by the way.
Did you go to prom? Who did you take? Did somebody take you, or did you?
No, I took a girl to the prom.
Did your neighbor set it up?
No, I went to the prom. I asked the girl to the prom.
And what guy at the prom stole your girl?
No one stole my girl.
Somebody had a girl to the prom.
Did she stay the whole time?
She stayed the whole time.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive, Greeny.
I will tell you my prom story coming up.
I got to talk to your mom and dad on how much they paid this girl.
No. All kidding aside. Well, hold on. Can you stick around there a couple of minutes, Tony? Because we got to get more into this.
Going. I know he's staying here. He's not in a coat and tie, so you know he's not going to Sports Center.
I got to get till 10. I'm good.
I was thrown off by the prom analogy, but I think that what you're saying is an interesting point, which is you would give up everything in the world for Andrew Luck. You'd give up everything in the world for Aaron Rodgers. So if Chip Kelly believes that's his guy, then why wouldn't you give up what it takes? Plus, he's in the unique position of being both the coach and the decision maker. And he knows if it doesn't start winning soon, that he's losing both those jobs.
The best of Mike and Mike.
The architect of the program at UConn, our friend Jim Calhoun in our studio as we start looking ahead to Sunday. How are you, Coach?
I'm good. You know, it's a kind of crazy time of year because I think automatically the body, it's like it's March, so it's madness. And there's been a great athletic accomplishment within this building recently in basketball. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
A miracle, actually, I would call it, to some degree. But regardless, it's a great time of year.
He just watched us doing our challenge.
Right.
And people are accusing us of staging Golic's 10th shot.
Oh, no.
I swear on my life. That was his 10th shot, and it went in. I promise you it was.
Yep.
And my first one went in. Now, Coach, you're criticizing my form, but what I learned in warm-ups was that when I shot it, the traditional fling, many of them were falling just short. And when I threw it overhand like a baseball, they were all at least reaching. So I figured my percentages were better throwing it that way.
Yeah, I'm not an expert in half-court shots, but I do know you lose control of the ball by throwing it, and you don't get any oomph with your legs. And I think that certainly Golic had much better form, but quite frankly.
You know where? You know
one
where,
out of one.
You know where it would have cost you if you didn't make that first one and you got the shot 6 or 7.
Exactly.
That might have worn on your shoulder and that might have been tough. But let me ask you this, because you Hall of Fame coach, one of the greatest ever. Let's be honest here. What was actually more difficult to do? Make the first shot or make the 10th shot with all the pressure in the
Well, there's no
line?
more pressure. You know, it's like guys putting 3 or 4 times and they finally make the 4th and they feel good about it. I'll make the first. No pressure. Golf pro said don't play with 2 or 3 balls sometime, because you always have that in your mental background. So when a guy has 9 more shots, not that much pressure. But a guy hitting the 10th out of 10, gonna go to jail otherwise.
Yeah.
Hey, you know,
So my shot was better.
big time pressure. I didn't say
there
that.
you
Big
go.
time pressure.
Okay.
Better or worse, I can't decide, but pressure without question.
He likes me better than you.
Knows clutch.
Well, he does. He's clutch. And obviously, we know that during your coaching days, you'd rather have had a guy shooting 10% rather than a guy shooting 100%. All right, let's get off
That's
that.
why we lost a couple of those games. I never thought of that.
All right, let's move on. Let's start with Kentucky. Obviously, the entire season has largely been about Kentucky. Their field goal percentage defense is one of the greatest of all time. They're so big. They're so athletic. And defensively, they're just incredible. I've seen some statistics that in the games that have been close, their clamp-down defense in the final 10 minutes of the second half is among the greatest in the history of the sport. So, if someone is going to beat them, Coach, how is it going to happen? What will it take to beat Kentucky in one of these six
first thing,
games?
just preface by saying it's a good team. In the last decade, it's pretty good. Not as good as 2012, not as good as our 2009 team, maybe as good as our 2011. Depth, size, awesome. But it's not a great team. And quite frankly, there's a lot of really good teams, and they're the best of all those teams. Clearly, they're powerful, have a great bench. But it's not a great team. John Calipari had a much better team in 2012, in my opinion. And I think most people would tell you that. Conversely, it's 2015, that's what we're playing with. They're the most powerful team. Great depth, injuries don't hurt them, fouls don't hurt them. It's very unique in our game. So if I looked at it, I think the number one thing, Harrison kids and maybe Bolden a little bit can make shots, but they're not a great shooting team. They're a good passing team into the post. If you can rebound and hold your own inside, a la Wisconsin, a la Virginia, who doesn't score as well as I'd like to see, Gonzaga even has some good-sized kids. Those kind of teams, if they can hold their own inside and make them an outside shooting team, which is difficult to do, but you can. We've seen it enough times this year. Mississippi, we can keep on going, LSU, etc. They're a beatable team, but you're going to have to be real good. The greatest thing that John's done this year is keep the Eagles in check, and every kid is kind of bought in to their role on the team. That's the greatest thing he's done. But if you're going to beat them, you got to make outside shots, make them and get them into a shooting contest with you, and hold your own lane no matter how you can do it.
Would it help if you're a running team? Is that something that would be better than a half-court type of team?
I believe that. More so, a little bit Wisconsin, who's situational running, Duke, who runs. They're a team that gets in half court. Once they set and get down in, and they put those big bodies regardless of fouls, because they don't care about them, they're tough to beat because their size alone can block shots. Their size alone can be intimidating. Their size alone can alter shots. You know, you get 2-3 blocked, you're looking for the next one. And my point being is that you got to ready to run them and also get easy baskets. And that's off fast breaks. If you can turn them over a little bit, and those are layups, we call them, loose ball turnovers. You get that, you get a chance to get them.
Mike, Jim Calhoun's in our studio. The other thing I'm thinking is there a transcendent player that can put a team on its back? We've seen that happen. You had a kid in Kimball Walker when you won your third title who just put the team on his back. To some degree, we saw Napier do that with UConn last year. We've seen Danny Manning do it. We've seen other players do it. Is a guy, even though he's a freshman, is a guy like Jahlil Okafor, with his size and Duke, and surrounded by good players, is he good enough to just have a night where he's just ridiculous, no one can do anything with him, and he almost single-handedly puts a team on his back and pulls off a win like that?
From a technical standpoint, he's terrific. He's one of the few young kids, 6'11", comes in, plays the post. Actually, a big guy who likes going inside, and talented as heck. I don't know about his personality. This is a fine thing to say. He's a good kid. Maybe too good a kid to some degree. Not that he's not going to be a great pro. He'll be, in my opinion, a better pro than anybody on the Kentucky team. And I really like it.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, he does things we haven't seen in a long time. His hands are massive. He's got great footwork. He's a terrific player. All that said, I don't know if he's quite that guy. Kimball Walker has gone on to average 18 points a game. Borderline in 3 years now, All-Star. Led his team to the playoffs last year. Okafor might be able to do that. And a question I have with you is, does Kentucky have anybody that can do that? I don't know that. And once again, I don't think we should project, pros versus great college players.
Right.
We have many of those, Danny Manning being one of them to some degree. But I just worry about, do they have a guy? A guy. Most everybody has a guy in this day and age, and I don't know if they have a guy. They have a lot of guys, and they have the best total force in college basketball today. But I'm not so sure that they have the guy. I'm the guy who said they wouldn't go 31-0 because I said attitudes might get involved. Never got involved. Injuries got involved. Not to them. Fouls never got involved. And they got better. But I don't believe in their offense yet. Can they win it? They're the best team. But they have flaws. Some of the great teams, unfortunately, because the way they won, they weren't a flawed team. They could answer the questions. And every game, how do you win championships? Have a multi-dimensional team. I love Jamie Dixon in Pittsburgh. Why do I think they haven't advanced as much recently? Years past particularly? Because they play one style. If they get down, low-scoring team, defensive grind, right. You got to be able to run a game. We beat Kentucky in the semifinals a couple years ago. Highest-scoring game. Played Butler. It's 19-22 at halftime. We had a beaten in a half-court game. The more ways you can play, the more ways you can win, and the more answers you have. Kentucky has a lot of answers. I question their offense.
Realistically, how deep is the talent pool this year, team-wise, to make that run in the tournament? Here's the best thing, Mike. Think back about it. In 2004, we won the championship. We had the second guy taking the draft in Okafor. National Player of the Year, National Student Athlete. Ben Gordon, third guy taken. We have Charlie Villanueva on that team. 8-year pro now. Josh Hamilton. Go right through the list. We had 6 pros in that team. I mean, veteran pros. I mean, sophomore and junior pros. Big difference. And I don't know if the depth is quite that with any team in America. I think basketball is just exciting. It's just as competitive. The games are great when you see the excitement. The scoring's not so good, and the pace is not good, and I can't see another pick and roll. No, crazy to see one more pick and roll. But regardless, there's too many pick and rolls. But I think it's not like we saw before, the ball flowing. Think about those UNLV teams. Think about some of the teams that you've seen. I mean, that mesmerize you, and the game might be 82-78. And I hate to say it, but that's more fun to watch. And it had to do with so many good players, older players. You know, when you play these guys who are now, can imagine what some of the kids at Kentucky would be like 2 years down the road. I mean, tremendous.
Hey, you're looking at a guy like Anthony Davis. I mean, he's 22 years old. Yeah. You look at a guy like Kyrie Irving. He's 22. These guys should be seniors in college right now.
Think about Drummond. Drummond's not 22 yet. Had 27 rebounds the other night. He's the leading offensive rebounder in the league at 21 years of age. Where would he be today? And I know other people have this. He'd be a starting center for University of Connecticut. You think we're pretty good in the AAC?
Yeah.
You think he'd make a difference?
Yeah.
Leading offensive rebounder, 6'11", 286 pound. 5% body fat. He's a phenom and a great kid and a great rebounder. So we're not seeing that as much. Imagine Okafor a couple years down the road with his skills and that, and you keep on going. There's some great players. Well, the other night I saw Valpo, and I saw some experienced kids. They weren't as talented, but boy, they were good because they had played a lot of basketball. Pango, I saw Gonzaga. The kids there. I mean, by the way, Sabonis. Keep that name in mind. Mm-hmm. It's a young Sabonis. He's mean. And he's really good. He's only a freshman out there, about 6'10", about 240.
Mike, Jim Calhoun's in our studio. That brings up an interesting question, because you're talking about a time that just doesn't exist anymore. We had Christian Laettner in here the other day, which obviously brings up at least one bad memory for you.
Well, I don't hate Christian Laettner, but I do hate that shot he made.
Right. UConn out to go to the Final Four one of those 4 years. The film, of course, I Hate Christian Laettner, is Sunday night. But I talked to him about that, and I said, would you have gone pro early? And he said, I might have gone after my junior year instead of staying 4 years. That doesn't exist. So let me ask you this. Would you rather right now coach a bunch of really, really good freshmen, or would you rather coach a bunch of not quite as talented seniors who've been together a long time? And when I say that, I mean, which do you like in a tournament setting, the experience or the youthful talent?
Well, in 2011, except for Kimber, we had 6 freshmen on that team. That was a young team. Nevertheless, it was a different time than ever, even then. And so we were able to get through it, and we obviously won, and Kimber was incredible. You go back to 99. We beat a Duke team with Elton Bray and all those guys. Well, they were young. We had juniors. We had Khalid Al-Amin, a sophomore, junior, and Jake Voskuil, junior, and Richard Hamilton. And we had 3 pros on that team, and we had more experience. And the reason we won the game down the stretch, we were tougher, and we were older, and we kind of knew what to do in a close game.
So along those lines, a new proposal possibly coming out with the NBA working with the NCAA about pushing the decision by the players for a number of weeks until May to have a combine that underclassmen can come to, and basically if you don't get invited to the combine, that should signal something.
Exactly.
Or you can go in the combine and then kind of get an evaluation after that to maybe still have the chance to go back to college. Do you think that's going to help the college game out?
Well, every year we lose about 45 kids in the top teams. I'm talking about now the top 100 teams. And if you do that, 45, 90, 135, 135 kids out of the top levels in Division I, take some of those kids, I use Drummond as an example, and put them back in the game. And now you're putting 2 or 3 here, 2 or 3 there, and now you've got the kind of teams that we were talking about in the past. And I just think, is that making basketball worse? Well, it's making it different. I think Greeny said best. We're making it different in the sense of you're not seeing a whole bunch of pros running around. You're seeing young kids who will be pros, or young kids who are great, like Okafor, and the Towns kid from Kentucky is a tremendous talent. But you don't have the kind of stuff I think that can win. Why did UConn win last year? 4 seniors against a young Kentucky team who had great talent. They were really talented last year.
But here's the question I would ask about that is, if you project ultimately to be a good pro, I feel like these kids just want to get the clock ticking on their first contract as quickly as they can, right? Because the real money in the NBA, I understand there's a big difference in being a high first-round pick and being a late first-round or a second-round pick. But the real money, if you're ever going to become a great player, is going to come after you get out of your first contract. So I feel like, I don't know, I get it. I like the proposal you're talking about, Mike, but I don't know how much of a difference it'll make, because I feel like the kids who really think they're going to be pros, who people are telling them they project to being really good pros eventually, they just want to get to that second contract as quickly as they can.
It's a great point. But take those kids. Let's bring Wiggins, Parker, all those guys back in the game today. You'd be talking different right now. And it isn't just the great ones we're losing. I saw LeBron as a junior in high school and said, "Yeah, be kidding me." He was a man. He wasn't a great basketball player really, but he was a man. I mean, a man amongst boys. And point being is maybe those kids, there's got to be a place for them. But for the majority of kids, and I mean majority of kids, 98% of all college athletes don't get drafted in any sport. So it's only 2%. When you get down to basketball, so many kids make that mistake, and we've only had one leaving his freshman year, Andre Drummond, recently. Otherwise, we had 20 go after your sophomore, junior year. And I guess the point being, would the NBA be better served culturally, socially, and basketball-wise? And I say 100% yes. Would basketball be served? College game? Without question. I heard some people talk about some of this one and done, they don't belong in college kind of things, and I have a difficult time because I think there's some overtures. I don't particularly like that expression. I think there's a school for everybody, actually. I don't mean in Division I, but there's a school for everybody. And when people say that, I just don't like that where that's going. I think that for all of us, the opportunity to go to college, the opportunity to have your life changed by so many people, being in a different kind, a caring environment, I guess is the word you'd use, I just think we can't miss out. So if we get another year, Greeny, I think the NBA becomes better automatically. Structure, about Mike playing college athletics. Right. How about discipline? How about structure? How about having to show up on time for things? Those things are great for people, and you gain great possessions.
So let's go back even a little further.
Yep.
Because you gain, depending on the high school you go to, fundamentals and things like that. So let's go back, and we've had some of the greats, from Kobe Bryant to Charles Barkley and others, say AAU is horrible for our basketball right now in America. Do you agree with that?
There's 2 things. The kids do play a lot more. We know about a lot more. It's easy to recruit. You see the best against the best, East Coast, West Coast, etc. Why is it bad? Because for them to keep the player on their team, they can't be yelling and screaming at them. They can't pull a Jim Calhoun, okay? They can't. Or Bob Knight, whoever it may be.
So you wouldn't be coaching AAU, huh?
I don't think I'm going to have an AAU team. Not in the future. My point being is, though, some of it's real good. Most of it, though, we allow kids. The high schools have very little to do with recruiting. Some places, but that's only special places. And to be honest with you, this game is not the game that y'all remember. It's not. I mean, I was going over 100 years ago. Dave Gavitt sent me to Yugoslavia when it was Yugoslavia, and we're teaching them the game. They could always shoot, but you teach them the game. That same game is being played against us now, and that's why everybody wants the great international player, because they actually do something. They actually pass the ball. They don't dribble the air out of the ball. They move the basketball. Everybody's going crazy over San Antonio. Yeah, they went strong side, reverse, weak side, angles. That's basketball. And today it's too much so. And I love the game. I get the sweats going when I'm watching games because I still love the game itself. But I'm nervous about the game. And I really think that there's a lot of AAU people, I'm sure, who are good. The actual system, though, Mike, when you have playing 3 games a day, the winner or loser, because you're in a pool, you're automatically going to get in the next round.
Right.
Not so much, and you're really kind of playing for yourself. That's why you always see every 6'9" kid in the world dribble the ball in those AAU games, and then you say, hey, can you get your butt down in the paint where it belongs? And I just think that I love the exposure. I love them playing against each other. I'd like kids to play 365. Or if they can, they shouldn't. But I think the point I'm making simply is that's what's the good part. The negative part, they're not getting the coaching. And I don't know how 3 or 4 times in a day you play a game. I always have thought this, that winning is very important. When people tell me about Tom Brady, because I was at the Super Bowl, big Patriots fan, well, his accomplishments, isn't that what it's all about? You know, I don't care about you talking about technique and Teddy Bridgewater. I'm a big football fan. I don't care about technique. Does the ball get to the receiver on time? Does he see the field? Does he read his options? Does, in fact, Brady, accomplishments, it's what it's all about. Winners are taught how to win, not just how to play.
It's an interesting thought because we were talking the other day about a guy like Christian Laettner, and people are saying he's one of the greatest college players of all time. Well, no, he's not, but he's one of the most accomplished college players of all time for sure. I mean, you will remember Lou Alcindor playing in college, and Bill Walton. He wasn't on a level with those kind of guys.
No.
But what he accomplished as much as anyone ever accomplished on the college level.
Part of the personality why people hate him made him a winner. He'd do anything to win. Trust me, I know that. After looking at tape of him playing against them, he would do anything to win. But every one of our practices over a 40-year career, I had a winner and loser in every single drill, everything we did. There always was the winner and loser. I don't care if you're shooting foul shots. I don't care if you're playing 4-on-4. Everything had a winner and loser. And pretty soon, they kind of got the concept of competing to win. And maybe they always, not the hands this way, hands that way. It may not be technically what you always think it should be. Say what it was. It was based upon, I have a great theory in life. I think a great theory. Win the day. Like I want to win this Friday. Try to win this day. I want you to win the practice. And we talked about winning the practice.
Mike and Mike, Jim Calhoun, who, by the way, was the subject of a documentary called Born to Lead, an inside look at his life and his career. 30-plus interviews, including Ray Allen and Ben Gordon and Coach K and Jim Boeheim and everybody else. It's on sale on Amazon, and at the AAC tournament this weekend in Hartford, it's online at borntoleaddoc.com. All right, let's go to you have something else?
Oh, real quickly, I was just going to ask, were you surprised Ray Allen didn't come back?
I was, except he's a two-handicapper, so he's really enjoying his golf. And as much as anything else, when you play with him, you guys talk about playing, Ray Allen's one of the few 40-year-old men, if his skin's in shirt, he still can be a skin.
Yeah.
And that's a very important thing to bring up. The point being is that he's got so much pride, guys, that he wanted to go where he was important, not just a piece that in other words, we always know what a threat he is, and he brings the defense out to play him. He wanted to be an important part of it, and I don't think he found some. It wouldn't shock me. It might surprise you, but not shock me if he went back next year.
All right. Mike and Mike, Jim Calhoun, let's quickly, in the moments we have remaining, let's go through some of the other teams that we like here. I'm looking at the ACC tournament. I'm watching a Carolina team that's been up and down this year, but they got a lot of big guys in there. They can crash the boards. They can get offensive rebounds, create opportunities. They have Page who will make long shots. I'm looking for teams that I could see matching up on some level physically with Kentucky, and I'm watching them and I'm thinking, could Carolina have the size that sort of neutralize a team like that?
They clearly have the size. Pages hasn't had, and I like him a lot, as a great year.
Right.
And that's why the inconsistency has creeped in. But clearly they have the size. They get something that you talked about, Mike, and very simply, that was they really do fast break. They don't talk about fast break. They fast break. I liked last night against Louisville, watching some of that game, the fact they showed some stuff here. Because not that they're soft, but they're not truly a tough Carolina team. They have a chance.
10-0 run in a tie game late.
But Page has to play well. He hasn't had a great year, but he's still a very talented kid.
So let me ask you this. Let's give Kentucky the benefit of the doubt. Let's put them in the championship game. In your dream scenario to have the best championship game possible, who would they match up against?
I like contrast. I'd bring Wisconsin in. I think Wisconsin is a fascinating team. Bo Ryan, great coach, lost by a buzzer beater last year by one of the Harrison twins, and most importantly, their style is difficult. Most people don't realize this. The best isolation coach in basketball with the swing offense, but he isolates everybody, guards, Kamansky, etc., is Bo Ryan. Everybody thinks it's a pro-type set, clear the backside, weeks out, so they therefore have no defense down, and they leave guys in the post. Isolation, and they can really isolate you. And the reason they isolate you so well, everybody can shoot the three. And they usually have to go out and play them. I'd like to see the Wisconsin, well, I'd say UConn actually, but maybe. But I would like to see the Kentucky Wisconsin game anytime. But I'd like to see it. I don't want to see the regional finals. I think Wisconsin, by the way, clearly has to be a one. My eyes tell me they can beat anybody, including Kentucky. I don't think they will, but they're really good.
They probably have the Player of the Year in Kaminsky. Does he?
I would think so. And it's a great testament to what they've done to him. I saw him in his freshman year. I hate to say this, and please take this as a great comment, but you were awful, and he wasn't a very good player. But that shows you what that shows you what the system and experienced players do. Not only is he really good, he knows everything about that offense.
Jim Calhoun, what a pleasure this is for us. You'll see him all over ESPN, obviously.
The only thing I'm doing now is envisioning him as an AAU coach. And some of these great guys going, wait a minute, he's yelling at me.
No, Coach. I'm just running isolation on every play.
Isolation, yeah.
Just get everybody out of my way.
Four down the baseline. Here we go. Kemba, go get him.
You say, come on over here and have a seat next to me, son.
We can talk about this later.
Pleasure to see you.
This has been the Best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNRadio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The Best of Mike and Mike. Werner, the official ladder of the NCAA basketball championships and the official ladder of professional contractors everywhere. Werner, #1 in ladders.